So we started the topic, the structuring, in the last class. And I explained why the reason behind the structuring. And we treated this example in the last class. Do you have any question before I dive into this lecture?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no question. All right. So we can go on. Now, if you remember in the last class, I demonstrated how you can unpack this array into different variables. The red goes into this first variable, the green goes into the second variable, and so on and so forth. And that is why we can easily print them out. Now you can skip values if you want to skip values. Take for example, I want to skip the second one here, this one. So you can see that there's a blank in between this variable and the third variable. So there's nothing for this for the green for there's nothing to hold the value of green. So, and one thing I want you to also notice that when destructuring an array, you need to be consistent. What do I mean? You need if you want the first and the last value, for example, red and yellow, you need to provide spaces for this second and the third. For example, I need to if let's say I want red and yellow, I'm going to put a comma here, right there. So this first one goes into this first variable. This green, there's nothing to hold it. The blue, there's nothing to hold it. Then the third will now hold yellow. If I copy this now and I go to the online IDE, paste and do. So if I run it, you will see that you have red and yellow because this first variable is holding this value and this last variable is holding this value. I remember in the last class I said you can name the variable anything. So let me call um this first one Josh, and I'm going to call this one maybe um Sean's color. And let me call this Josh color as that is Josh favorite color. And I have undo that. I have that like so. So if I run it, you will see that we have exactly the same value. But the point I'm trying to make is this. Because I'm neglecting this, I will need to create empty um permit me to use the word empty variable, that is nothing, a null variable better. So if I do not do that, if I just use a comma separator like so, you will see that red will be stored in here and green will be stored in here. So if I run it, you will see red and green. Is there any question? Is there any question?
Yes, sir.
So I move on. Now, when we treated function and I mentioned about REST operator. So I'm going to talk more on it today. The rest operator, which is the three dots, not a single dot, not two dots, three dots. It is used to collect the remaining element in a single variable. For example, now look at this array colors. I use the very first variable to collect the item red. Now you see these other ones, the green, the blue, and the yellow, they are stored inside this rest, which simply means that this rest variable on its own is also an array, so to speak. If I copy this out, go to the online compiler ID rather. So let me, okay, now I'm printing out the very first variable and the rest variable. If I do that, you will see that inside this very first one, I have the red, and the rest is now holding the green, the blue, and the yellow, and it is an array. As you can see, it is an array. Is there any question? Is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's say I want this variable, um let me call it red variable, and I create another variable called green variable. Then the rest is now inside the rest parameter variable. If I run this, okay, let me put this one here. So, and let me copy this and use the second variable here. You will see that red will be stored here and green will be stored inside it, and the rest, blue, yellow, will be in the rest variable. And you can see, and that is exactly what we have there. So now there are times that you need to state default values. Probably you don't want to give a value to certain parameter. So anytime there is no value, then that means that the the default value that you created will be assigned or used for such um, variable. Now, as you can see here, that you can provide default values for variables if the array does not have enough elements. For example, look at this array. It has only red. And you are now trying to destructure the color array into first, second, and third. But you can see here that I am the value green is being assigned to the second variable, and the value blue is being assigned to the third variable. Now we call these two, the green and the blue, we call them default values. What does that mean? It simply means that if this colors array does not have any other item, the defaults will be assigned to these variables, and only this one we as the red sorry, the first variable will now hold the red value. As you can see here, the output of this will be red, the output will be green, which is the default, and the output will be what? Blue, which is the default. But let's say I have something like lilac here, right? I have something like that here. Now, in this case, the lilac will now be assigned to second variable instead of green. let us quickly demonstrate it so that you understand fully well what I'm talking about. So I come here. So if I print this, what's going on? It says color red, colors. Why is this grayed out?
Side. Well,
You say what? Oh, okay.
the comma.
Yeah, yeah, is this one? It should be like that. Yes. So if I run it, you will see I have red, which is this first one, then green, which is the default value assigned to this, then blue, the default value assigned to this. So, and this second variable and third variable, they have these values because there is no item, no second item or third item right there. So let's say we have a second item, lilac, for example. If I run it, you will observe that that lilac is now assigned to second instead of green. You can see lilac is printed out. But because there's no third value here, blue is still printed out for the third. If I insert another color, say cyan, for example, you will see cyan being printed out instead of that blue. Is there any question?
Second, I see the default values again.
Okay, so now default values comes into play when you do not have any value inside the array. As you can see, I only have a single value here, which is red, and this value is assigned to the first variable here, and there's no other second or third item here. So the default green is assigned to second, the default blue is assigned to third. If I run it, you will see green and blue, red, green, and blue printed out. So you can have a look. If you have any question, please let me know. So is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I move on.
Yeah, you can move on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now we we have explained array destructuring. So let's talk about object destructuring. When we destructure an array, we use the square brackets. Always keep the nuances, note them. This is an array. If you want to destruction an array, you use the square bracket. However, when you want to destructure an object, you use the what they call the braces. You can see right here. So you cannot use square brackets for an object, and you cannot use curly braces for an array. So keep that in your mind. So I have object. Now, if you want to destructure an object, you must make sure that the variables that you write here, they are the same as the name and age, which were city, which are the properties of that object. So in short, I'm saying that ensure that the variable name here, they are the same as the properties of the object. But the question is it not possible to use any other name? Yes, it is possible. And that is done or achieved by renaming these properties. You have to rename it, as you will see later. You will see it later in this session. You will see how we can rename the properties. But for now, ensure that anytime you want to destructure an object, you have to use a curly braces. You have to use curly braces rather to destructure that object. So Alice in this case will be assigned to name. 25 in this case will be assigned to age, and New York will be assigned to city. And that is why when you print out the name, the age, and city, you have Alice 25 and New York. Let us just demonstrate this so that we see it in action. So now, if I run this, you will see Alice 25 and New York printed out. So now let's say I'm using another name. I'm using another name for the variable. Say first name. Let me just use F name. If I run it, you will see that there is no there's nothing as name, but let me put F name here and run it. You see that it is undefined. Why? Because this F name does not correlate or correspond to any of the properties of the object. So what am I saying? The variable name given here must tally with the properties of that object. And that is why if I put it back to name, then the value Alice will be printed out. So the takeaway is this. If you want to destructure an object, make sure that you use the curly braces. Two, make sure that the variable name you are declaring here is the same as the properties of the object. Is there any question?
Oh, so I'm coming. Wait. So,
Okay,
yeah, I have a question, but so I'm coming.
okay, I should wait.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me know when you are ready. So, do you have any question?
Yeah. Could you go back to the slides
The slide, okay.
about the object destruct, about the basic syntax?
This one.
Yeah. I wasn't finished writing the prop meaning, the work you're doing. Okay. So you can continue.
Okay. So now, I said earlier on that you can rename the variable, right? And this is the renaming of variables. As you can see, as you can see, I still use the name which corresponds to the property of the object, and the age which is still the property of the object. But this time you can see now I'm giving it an alias, which simply means another name. So you can see the column here being used to do the renaming. So what is being done here is that the name property is being renamed as what? Full name, while the age property is being renamed as years. And that is why you can now print the full name out, because now this value that is here has been the variable has been renamed to full name, so I can access it through the full name here, then the years. Let us just quickly demonstrate this also. So if I run, you will see we have Alice and 25. Let's try to access it through the name and the age and see what is going to happen. You can see there's an error because name is no longer defined. But if I remove the renaming from there, name will be defined, but age will not be defined. If I remove the renaming from there, then age will now be available. Is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So I move on. So just like we have default values in the case of an array, we also have default values in object also. Default value is just to assign a value to that variable, just in case that property is not available in the object. As in this case now, I only have the name property whose value is Alice in this person object. You will notice that there is no age property. So because there's no age property, 30 will be assigned to age and 30 will now be printed out as you can see here. Let's quickly demonstrate this also. When I print, you will see Alice and 30 printed. But let's assume that I now have a property called age there, and I say 50, for example. You will now see 50 is now printed out. Is there any question on this?
Um, no.
No question. Okay. I won't spend too much time so that I won't go too deep while others are not here. But anyway, let me try and cover as much as I can because since we agree 8, I don't know why they should not be here in the class. So I move on to the next slide. Can, I'm trying to see if I can finish discussion today, but I don't want to rush you. I will take it easily. So now, nested object destructuring. The jargon nested should not be new to you any longer. Nested object means that you have an object like this address. It's an object and you have it within a person object. So nested means something inside another thing. That is nesting. So, but in this case, it is an object within an object. So the address is a nested object. So how do you undo the structure nested object? Now, the concept emanates from the renaming. Remember that you use the column to rename. And when you rename, you must identify and so specify the property within the array, then you can rename it. So what is happening here? You will see that this is the property address, and now it's being, I will, let me permit me to use the word, is being renamed as another object. So which simply means that the value within it, right, is being destructured, further destructured into city and zip. And you will notice that the city is the property within the address and the zip is also a property within that address object. So
Hello?
that is the idea. So you use the column as if you want to rename this
Mm.
address, and whatever property within it, you now assign the value New York into this and zip 10,001 into the zip. The naming must correspond with with the respective properties. Please take note of that. So,
So
yes,
I didn't know whether you wanted, whether you did this, but I was out of the class because my computer shut down.
okay, just
Um,
now.
like I just joined it now.
Now, okay. So, okay, let me re- re-explain because I was just explaining nested object. So, nesting, as I said earlier on, should not be new to you because we did nested element in the HTML, and now you are seeing the nesting again. What is what does it mean to have an object nested? It simply means that you have another object within a bigger object. You can see this is a person object. Now we have an object within that person object, which is the address. So how do we extract the information within this nested object? Very simple. You get the value of what's it called, the address, which is the property. Then you do as if you are renaming. Remember, in this earlier on, I said that for you to rename a property, you need to use a column operator and then the new name. So that is exactly what is being played out here. When after accessing the address, the address will now return you this object, and you need to now destructure that object into its respective variable using another curly, two curly braces, and as using the variable as their proper as the same as the property of the object in question. So which simply means that this value New York is assigned to city, and this zip 10,001 is assigned to zip, right? So, and
Mm,
remember that everything is coming from who? The person object. So the person object is assigning the value into these variables. So if I print city now as shown and zip, it will print New York and the zip code of 10,001. If I copy this, copy, and I go to the IDE and I run it, you will see that New York and 10,001 is printed out. Is there any question?
yes, no.
No question. Are you sure? No question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let me check the time so that I won't. Okay, it's almost 9 o'clock. So let's go on. I move on to the next slide. Okay, yeah, the rest operator. Just like we have the rest operator in array, we also have the rest operator in the object. So you can see we have name, which correspond to the name, and the rest are now assigned to the rest operator, which is the age with value of 25 and the city with value of New York. And this will be returned as what? Object. If I copy this out and go to the IDE, if I run it, you will see that Alice, which is assigned to name, is printed out there. But the rest, which is age and city, they are assigned to the rest parameter, and they are what? In the form of what? Object. Is there any question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So uh, now I'm going to stop here because I don't want it to be as if it's only you I'm taking you through. But it's just a pity that it's like people are so much relaxed. Maybe they depend on the recording, maybe. Fine. If you view the recording and you understand, there's no problem. There's no issue about that. So I'm going to stop here today. Do you have any question you want to ask me?
No,
Okay. Uh, um, Let me ask you a few questions. Do you review the HTML recordings, CSS recordings?
or I don't review the. Mm, no, I haven't. I've only reviewed the JavaScript.
Okay, you only review the JavaScript. Okay, there's no problem. Anyway, if you do not review that, you have numerous helps on the internet, to be precise, the YouTube. So if you are comfortable with YouTube, there's no problem. Always remember the overall goal is for you to grab the concept, to understand the concept, and to apply the concept, right? So I'm going to stop here today, as I said, and we'll meet next week, Tuesday. Thank you so much. And if I may, let me stop recording now. If I may ask,